Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa. Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, internet world. How are we doing on this wonderful Wednesday? Wednesday, right here, August number 2. We are right here ready for August. It's all right there in front of you guys. Welcome in. This is the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral, BamaCentral.com. I appreciate everybody watching us on YouTube, watching us on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter. You guys can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. I am obviously Joe Gaither, and you are the listener. You're listening to us on the Bama Central Broadcasting Network. Bama Central, the Sports Illustrated home for your Alabama Crimson Tide. Want to let you know to tune into our other two Bama Central Broadcasting Network podcasts. We've got our friends All Things Bama with Katie Wyndham and Austin Hannon, and we've got our friends Blake Byler, Matthew Gibson, and Jacob Pickle bringing you Blue Collar Unplugged, hitting all things Alabama basketball and Nate Oates related on their shows. So tune in to all three shows on the Bama Central Broadcasting Network, and we're going to have a fun show. And look, we are like 20 hours away, roughly 20 hours away from Alabama kicking off their first practice. I think 24 on the dot. I think they're going to start at 3 tomorrow. 3 tomorrow or 2, right in that range tomorrow. But I just spent a little bit of time over at Bryant-Denny Stadium for the Knicks Kids Luncheon, and I'll talk about that at the end of the program. But today's show is going to be, it's going to be a special show. It's going to be fun. We're going to continue our recruiting series. We've talked to a lot of the Alabama 2024s already. We've talked to Sterling Dixon. We've talked to Caden Jones. We've talked to Julian Sayin. We talked to William Sanders and talked to Joseph Ionata. We will now we'll be 3 for 3 on offensive linemen after this episode, and we're bringing in our new friend Casey Poe. Casey Poe committed to Alabama July 12th. So Casey, thank you so much for giving me some of your time today, sir. I hope you're doing well. And really, how's your Wednesday going, sir?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on the show. It looks like it's gonna be a fun time. But we just got back from practice. We just started 2-a-days Monday here in Texas. And so we're getting in before the heat really gets to us and trying to, rehydrate and replenish all the stuff we lost this morning.
Yeah, so just right on that track, how much I know they're weighing you before and after practice. What's the weight fluctuations like for you guys as you're starting 2-a-days?
Yeah, my weight Monday dropped 15 pounds during practice. It was pretty crazy.
The Texas heat. It's hot in Alabama, but it's Texas. Golly, it's just as hot. So Casey, I really appreciate you giving me some of your time. And obviously we can do the how was your visit and how do you like Alabama and tell me about Coach Wolford. We know they're all amazing and everything was all the visits rolling out the red carpet. I want to get to know you and kind of get to know your football background, your personal background, and kind of what goes into you making the decision to come to Tuscaloosa. So I really appreciate you jumping on. Let's start with just an easy one. You committed July 12th. And so you told me that you spent some time in church camp last week, and then we had the Champions Cookout over the weekend. So talk about your July. What you've been doing since you committed. How was church camp, and how was the Champions Cookout that you attended over the weekend?
Yeah, my July's been great. Like you said, I committed on July 12th. And so the week after that was just kind of crazy, just getting all the, congratulations out of the way and everyone just kind of, patted me on the back and made me feel good, which was amazing for me. But other than that, my July's been great. Like you said, I got to visit church camp, really got to spend some time in God's Word with a great church. And so I was very thankful for that. It's always good to just kind of, be able to be set aside from the world for a little bit and just kind of get out of all the distractions of the everyday world and all the kind of sinfulness and just kind of be put off in an area by yourself where it's really just you, God, and some other Christian people. So that was really exciting. And as soon as we got back, I think we got back on a Saturday or a Friday. I think we got back on a Friday. I came home, changed the sweaty clothes that were in my bag into some fresh ones, and headed to Alabama. And the Champions Cookout was great. I got to hang out with a lot of the, offensive line commits and some other players. And it was just great being able to be with those guys. We've really not seen each other that much, but it feels like every time I'm around them, I've done them for years. Like those guys, I can already tell we're going to have a great offensive line whenever we get there, and we're going to have some great friendships.
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys all work together and really getting to know you guys as a whole. Champions Cookout, obviously they're feeding you guys a lot, and I saw some photo shoots and everything. But what were some of the standout? What goes into that event? I was average Andy athlete. I was never invited to any recruiting events. What happens at the Champions Cookout? Everybody really throwing the big bash at the end of the summer before fall gets started.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. You really don't realize until you get there how much goes into these recruiting weekends. Like even down to the recruiting hosts that are there for you. The girls they have running around down there, they're amazing. They're some of the friendliest people you'll ever meet. They make sure you're taken care of, make sure you're always smiling. They always have a smile for you. But from those people to Coach Saban to all the coaches, the workers just around to the freaking janitors, everyone just works really hard to make sure you have a good time. And it was a big recruiting weekend, but it didn't feel like it. It just felt like we got a bunch of players together and we just got to kind of hang out and enjoy Alabama football for the day. And so it was an amazing experience. Like you said, they fed us great. We had some barbecue all the way down there. I can't remember where they ordered it from, but it was some great food, some great time to spend together. We went down to the lake afterwards, so it was just a big time.
Did you get thrown off the Nick Saban tube, or did you survive?
No, I didn't. I never got to go tubing.
Okay.
That'll come. That'll probably come whenever I get on campus.
Well, that'll be awesome. The Lake Tuscaloosa is a beautiful area, and I hope you'll enjoy that. What can you tell us from people who are we're all here in Alabama, getting ready for new season. Some of us have been out to Texas before, but not all of us. What can you tell us about Lindale, Texas, in between Dallas and Tyler? What can you tell us about kind of where you're from and how that shapes you into where you've been to so far?
Yeah, so Lindale used to be a small town whenever we first got here. I've lived here for all 18 years of my life. I've never moved houses, which I'm very thankful for. I have some deep
Nice.
roots right here. And so I have a lot of friends. We used to be a lot smaller. We used to be, one of those towns where we had a Walmart and you were lucky if you got a DQ at the end of the day or something like that. But since then, we've really grown. We're the hometown of Miranda Lambert. And so she's came back and put some good funds into it. She has a couple of restaurants down here. But besides that, it's still just kind of a country little hometown right here between, like you said, Tyler and Dallas. Everyone knows everybody. If you go to church with someone, you're bound to see them 3 or 4 times throughout the week. And so it's a great town. There's a ton of support. Everyone loves the football team. It's one of those towns where you might not agree with everything that we do, but you're dang sure going to like us. You're going to watch us on Friday nights because that's kind of all we have around here. But it's a great town. And it really kind of brought me up loving football because that's, like I said, that's all there was to do on a Friday night. That's all I ever knew was going and watching the games on Fridays and then coming home and watching college game days on Saturday mornings and just sitting around the house and eating chips and queso and, doing all the fun stuff.
That's awesome. You're not taking any selfies at Miranda Lambert's concerts, are you?
I'm not. I've actually never been to one. I've wanted to, but I've never got the chance to.
All right, well, if you go, don't take a selfie. She'll get upset with you.
If I do, I'm leaving my phone at the house. Don't worry.
That's awesome. That's great. So you're over in Lindale, and I've got you listed, and you can please correct me if it's updated or wrong. 6'4", 6'5" and a half, 6'4", 6'5", 290. You're playing. I'm looking at your huddle, seeing you're playing tackle and guard. You're also a shot putter, so multi-sport athlete. Was it always football for you, or were there other sports that got that you really were into as a kid before you really got serious about playing football?
Yeah, I used to be a huge baseball kid. Like way back in the day, whenever I was, 10 or 12 years old, you could have asked me if I was to go to college for any sport. I probably would have said baseball. Honestly, I had a love for the game. Me and my brother played together on the same team. I always played up with him, and so I always had a love for that. But my entire family has always been kind of surrounded by football. I have more people that coach in my family than don't coach. My grandfather and my great uncle are both identical twins. They're in the Texas Coaches Hall of Fame here, and McKinney Stadium is actually named after my great uncle.
Oh, nice.
I have a ton of cousins, uncles, aunts, everyone who coaches, and so it's just kind of in my blood to play football, and I followed that passion.
That's incredible. Obviously, I kind of outlined I was never really that great of an athlete, but I do know track and field very, very well. My father coaches track and field in Chattanooga, multi-time state champion, and so I'm kind of watching a lot of that stuff. And so I read shot putter, I read state champion shot putter and discus thrower, and I know kind of what goes into the mechanics of those sorts of things. How does people who may not know, how do the mechanics and the technicality of those two events really translate and apply to what you do as an offensive lineman?
Yeah, so the biggest thing for me was one, I've been able to figure out how to really use my explosion because there's a certain amount of explosion you have in your body. The muscles fire a certain way. You have a certain amount of force that you can output, and being able to figure out how to throw a shot put in a discus, two very kind of distant from each other objects, and being able to see how much power and how much force you can put behind each of those really get you to hone in on what muscles you have to fire and at what times just to get the most explosion. And two, is footwork. Whenever you're throwing a shot or a disc, you really don't think about it. You have a massive amount of footwork that goes into it. And so I think that just kind of helped me be able to kind of put footwork as something that's always kind of churning in my mind without having to think about it.
That's insane. That's awesome. So you get the shot put right up in your neck, and then I see your huddle tapes and the same hammer right out of your hands, right out of your hands. And so obviously that's got to be what people are really attracted to as an offensive lineman. Just talk about, or just a question about your football style. When I had Joseph Ionata on, he used the word nasty about 1.5 billion times, and I love that. I love that. He said, "Oh, I like to be now." Describe your football style. What do you like to? How do you like to model yourself, or what do you like to? What do you think of yourself when you're like, all right, I'm putting on the helmet pregame, and this is what I'm about to be?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's actually something we talked about as a team today. I think all of Lindale can attest to this for our entire football team. Whenever we play, we're going to be the toughest individuals on the field, and I like to adopt that principle as much as anybody else. But when we're on that field, you know that you're playing the hardest and the toughest and the best workers that you'll ever, play against. And we're people. Lindale's never been a town where we've had, the most amazing athletes or the biggest athletes or anything like that, but we've always been the town to come out and play the hardest, just kind of put everything onto our backs. And whenever, crap hits the fan, we can able to just like go back down to our roots and go back down to our kind of like country lifestyle. And we're going to play hard. We're going to hit you in the mouth every single play. And so I think that's really how I would best describe my game.
I love it. I love it. We're talking to Casey Poe, class of 2024 offensive lineman committed to the University of Alabama. And Casey, let's talk about your team this year, Lindale. I wrote from last year. Y'all went 8-5, finished third in the region. You had 2 losses to Kilgore, one in the regular season, one in the playoffs. What do you expect to be bringing back to the team? Do you have a lot of guys in your class coming back, or did you lose a lot of senior leadership last year? What does Lindale look like this year, just kind of on the outset?
Yeah, we definitely lost some senior leadership from last year. We had 2 amazing guys, Will Hutchins and Trey Maserati, who played offensive line with me. And I will say this as humbly as possibly can, but we were the best offensive line in the state, and I'll stand by that no matter what. But those
I'll
two
back you
dudes
up. Go for it.
I appreciate it. But those 2 dudes were just amazing leaders. They were dudes who would put the whole team on their back if they needed to. There was a toughness factor about both of them, and they were both captains on the team. And we did lose those guys last year after 3. They both played 3 seasons apart on varsity.
Wow.
But I think we're really picking up the slack on the offensive line wherever they left, because I'm the only returning varsity player from last year on the offensive line. But the guys who we're bringing back have just an exceptional. They're really smart and they're really tough and they're really strong, which are all things you love to see in an offensive lineman. One of our guys got, I think it was 6th in the state in powerlifting as a sophomore. He's one of the strongest dudes I've ever met in my life. So just knowing, like, I have someone who's pretty much a brick wall sitting beside me anytime I need, a double team or something like that is just it's amazing to have. So I feel really good about it. I feel like we have a bunch of leadership coming back in. Our quarterback Clint Thurman is one of the toughest people I've ever met in my life. He's an insane quarterback. He's a guy who we all want to model ourselves after, because he'll get hit and he'll take a shot here and there and he'll just pop back up and get back to work. But we did lose a lot, but we have a lot coming back.
That's awesome. And you love a leader like a quarterback who would just take it on the chin, keep everybody rolling. How, on that aspect, being the only returning varsity lineman, how have you embraced leading and kind of bringing the guys on, making sure that everybody's prepared for the new season and prepared to play up to the standard that those guys left and that you're setting?
Yeah, I've taken that on pretty well, I would say. Hopefully they would say the same thing. But it wasn't a hard thing. Like I said, those 2 guys that left, they didn't leave as soon as football season was done. They didn't just, scamper out of the building, never see us again. They were here the whole entire offseason, helping each and every one of us in their own specific way, wherever we needed help. And so it's really been easy to kind of hear what they've been talking about and hear what they've been saying for the past 3 years and turn around and be able to talk the same language to the guys who are now playing beside me because they've heard the same thing from the same guys. And so it's been an easy transition. Like I said, I have a great group of guys playing with me this year, and I can't wait.
Well, we can't wait to follow you. We'll be watching you each and every Friday night, at least from the BamaCentral side of things, and pulling for you guys. What did I hate to put a sore subject? What does losing to Kilgore both times, especially in the playoffs, what does that teach you, or what do you take from that loss that you and your team can carry over into this season?
We take away from it that we're going to hit them harder this year. We're not going to let it happen again.
I love it. I love it. Casey, let's talk about let's see, but as I continue, let's talk about let's talk about linemen that you're inspired by. When you watch football for a long time, I'm sure. Who are some of the people or some of the linemen that you model your game after, or players that aren't linemen that you like to that inspire you?
Yeah, I've never really modeled myself after one specific offensive lineman. That's just never really what I did. I just always kind of took bits and pieces from everybody's game because at a very young age, I've been around so many coaches that I've seen them coach in different styles. And I kind of took that into the playing mentality of, okay, everyone does something better than somebody else does. So if you look
Sure.
at one offensive lineman, he might be the best offensive lineman overall, but he's going to have a fault somewhere. So I feel like if you can bounce around and take a piece from this guy, a piece from this guy, a piece from this guy, and just kind of build that into an ultimate portfolio, it's the best way to kind of get some knowledge about your game from the best to do it.
Can you tell us about your family a little bit? When you committed on July 12th, it looked like you had a large contingent of people around you guys, or at that. It looked like a laptop kind of set up from, was it 247 or On 30? So one of the bigger sites hosted your commitment, and you had a large contingent around you. Tell me about your family and kind of your support system that's gotten you to where you are as a rising senior.
Yeah, I have an amazing family and even better support system. I got friends and family all around me that throughout this whole process, because like this process, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's glitz and glamour on the outside, but on the inside, it's a whirlwind of emotions because you're making a ton of relationships with a ton of different people, and you're having to choose, between the top schools in the country where you want to spend, 4 years of your life. It's a life changing decision. But throughout that, my family's been able to just stand beside me and push me whenever I need to be pushed and kind of shield me whenever I need to be taken back a little bit, and always just remind me to, stay true to God in this whole process and stay true to who I am no matter what. But they were so proud of me. Like you said, I had a good amount of people. I think there were, 20 or 30 people who showed up that day just in person. And there was hundreds that texted me after that, just congratulating me and letting me know how excited for me that they were. And so I can't thank them enough for that.
You talked about your family having a lot of coaches in its background. Did you get a lot of influence on, hey, you should consider this school or that school or this aspect in your recruiting, or did your family and kind of support system kind of let you figure it out yourself?
Yeah, they let me figure it out myself. They didn't want to sway me one way or the other. The only thing that they did throughout the process was make sure that I kept my head on my shoulders and kept working hard because, I got another season here at Lindale. I can't just be floating off to college whenever I want to. I got to stay true to who I am here. And so they done a great job of kind of keeping my feet grounded and let me know what the important things in life are.
That's what's up. So Casey, I looked on your Instagram, and your tag post it shows kind of timelines of your recent commitment and childhood photos of yourself in Alabama gear. Was Alabama always a lifetime love?
Yeah, Alabama's always kind of been the team. You can see
Yeah, see the baseball in the background.
there's baseball in the background. I have it up all around my room. I think it's a 2017 newspaper from Ramajama up on my wall over there. But I've always been an Alabama fan, and everybody's kind of always known that. I was one of the kids that whenever we'd win a national championship back in the day, I was going to be donning the hoodie and the shorts and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, we've always been Alabama fans. My dad, let's see, there's a story that goes with it. My grandfather and my great uncle that I mentioned earlier were both recruited by Coach Bryant back in the day,
Wow.
and then they didn't end up going. They couldn't afford a plane ticket to get to Alabama, so they had to stay local. But he got a signed poster from Coach Bryant that was passed down to my dad, and that one day I'm sure be passed down to me. So my dad always kind of assumed he was supposed to be an Alabama fan, and that was passed down to me.
Okay, that's awesome. Was that influential in your recruitment, or were you trying to keep that separate from? I mean, obviously, the Alabama football program speaks for itself, but the fandom in you, did you have to kind of remove that while you were going through the recruiting process?
Yeah, I definitely did. Like the entire season last season, I never really rooted for anybody on a Saturday. I just kind of sat back and watched different teams play. But it's one of those things where, everyone will tell you to go to a specific place, and Alabama was like, "Why wouldn't you go? You're a fan." And it's like, "Yeah, I'm a fan. This might have been the childhood dream, but is it still the dream here and now that I'm here and I got to drive, 8 or 9 hours away from home and spend the next 4 years of my life there?" So I kind of had to separate that idea out of my head and just kind of put it parallel with everybody else. And obviously, it moved its way up and way above everybody else.
100%. I mean, it's different coming in for a Saturday game and being like, "Yeah, roll tide for a couple hours," and then going home and then actually living here.
Exactly.
What do you like about Tuscaloosa when you did come to visit? When you've seen it, what are some of the aspects about the city or about the area that you think, okay, this does feel like it might be somewhat home?
I'm sorry, it
Oh, it's
cut
fine.
out there for a second.
I'll repeat myself. I said, what are some of the aspects about Tuscaloosa that you liked? What are some of the aspects of Tuscaloosa that you liked when you came to visit it? Not part of the football side of things.
I really love the campus. Tuscaloosa overall, the Alabama campus is one of the prettiest campuses I think I've ever been to. Actually, I know I've ever been to. Um, I would say, like, whenever I was going through the process, that was one of the questions people asked were just like, which campuses do you think they were prettiest? There was Auburn's. Auburn's was nice. I know you hate to hear that being an Alabama fan.
No, it's a nice campus.
Yeah, the campus
I like
overall was
truth. That's
nice.
all I deal with is truth.
Yeah, they have a nice campus. I've always thought that. I thought Georgia's campus was
Beautiful.
decently nice, but then Alabama's was just it was breathtaking. It was a great mix of kind of like that old and a new money style. Like there are all the big sorority houses that are set up on a hill and look like something out of a storybook, and then you can drive up. You go past a gas station. I can't remember what road it's on, but you drive up and you're kind of looking down a hill, and there's a stadium over down the hill, and you can just see fields and everything in front of you and all these different buildings. And it was kind of that moment. It was kind of like, man, this is the place I want to stay.
It sounds like you were up by the hospital at that point, looking into campus
Probably so.
with the quad on the right hand side, stadium off the distance up to the left.
Probably
Yeah,
so.
yeah, it's a great view. It's awesome. It's a beautiful view. So let's talk about. Do you have okay? You committed July 12th. Obviously you're a highly rated recruit. Did everybody kind of just say, okay, he's committed, we're done, or have we still had a lot of, hey, let's keep trying to convince him, let's see if he might change his mind? Is the recruitment basically shut down for Casey Poe?
Yeah, it's really shut down a lot, and I mentioned that whenever I put out my commitment.
Sure.
Once I commit somewhere, my word is good as anything else. It could be, a signed piece of paper, contract, whatever. I would trust my word more than that. But I'll still have coaches, hit me up here and there, which I love. I love talking to coaches because those were great relationships I built, and I just can't go away from those. But for the most part, people have just kind of let me enjoy being committed, and kind of backed off.
You have what are some of your hobbies outside of football? When you're outside of football and shot putting, when you're not being physical, what are some of your hobbies?
Yeah, I've always loved fishing. That's a big East Texas thing. We have huge bass down here in Texas. It's something I grew up on. So whenever I have free time, I'll probably do that, or just spend time out with friends, spend time outside doing something outside in nature.
Well, Tuscaloosa, I mean, West Alabama is underrated in that factor. I believe. I think you can get
I've
out.
heard.
You can do just some deer hunting if you want to get. If you want to hunt, we've got water to get on the lake. So if those are some of your interests, I know there's a lot of Alabama supporters that can put you onto some great different spots or hidey holes.
Hey, I would love it. I would love that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. On that same little track of interests and hobbies, obviously NIL has been a huge factor since its inception, and everybody says, oh, it's not a factor in my recruiting, and that's perfectly fine. Is there anything that's like, Casey, you're like, oh, I want to maybe get involved in, oh, get a Cabela, work with Cabela's outdoor side, or get involved with Hardee's. We saw a lot of Alabama players over the last handful of years get up with Bojangles and doing some deals. Are there any sort of like, oh, I can't wait to get involved in this aspect of NIL? Obviously the football's first, but is there any sort of thing creatively that you're like, that might be fun?
Yeah. So it's funny that you said that. Throughout this entire process, this is a goal that I don't know if it'll ever happen. This is a huge brand, but Bucky started in Texas. It's always been a huge gas station, and I heard they're getting one near Tuscaloosa. And I'm telling you, like, to me, that would rank like highest on my list if I could work with them. Just like I don't even know if it would be an NIL deal or whatever, but just to say like I have an NIL deal with Bucky's, I think the child in front and like inside of me would cry. Like I'm telling you, every time we drive, so my grandparents live on the other side of Dallas. Every time we drive to see them, we'll stop on the way there and we'll stop on the way back, and it's at least like $100 round trip just from Bucky's and what we buy in there.
Don't feel bad every time I go through. Okay, so there's one in Huntsville. There's
Mm-hmm.
one headed towards Talladega, towards Atlanta, and then there's a couple in Auburn. I think there's at least one in Auburn.
I know there's at least one.
And so if I'm driving north to Nashville, I always stop. If I'm driving to Atlanta, I always stop. And same vice versa. I plan my gas day stops around it. Oh, I can fill up in Huntsville. I can get a full meal. I can have a great clean bathroom experience. Like it's the best place in the world.
It really is. It's got everything you need.
Yes, I love it. It's the perfect rest stop in the world. So, look, if that happens, I will celebrate that for you. That'll be a blast. That's great.
Absolutely.
Casey, a lot of offensive linemen struggle a little bit keeping their weight up or growth because it's a little bit of an inhumane experience. Do you have any tricks or strategies to keep your weight up to say, you know what, I'm eating whatever it is, peanut butter sandwiches every night, or do you have anything that you do that says, you know what, I'm building my weight up and this is what I'm doing?
Yeah, really just hydration. Like people don't realize, and I saw someone posted a video about it, but you don't realize how much water can like affect your weight. Because to eat a pound of food and then to drink a pound of water is a completely different. Like 2 or 3 bottles of water can gain you a pound and a half or whatever, and then a whole meal from Chili's, you want to get the 3 for $10 or whatever it's called now. Like that's going to be a lot harder to gain weight off of if you would just drink 3 or 4 bottles of water and just do that consistently and have your body constantly hydrated and staying on top of that thing. That's how I really stay on top of mine.
There you go. How excited are you to, simple question, easy question, to work with Alabama's Amy Bragg, her dietitian, and getting there and just obviously they'll tailor, here's what you need to be eating on a regimen. How excited are you to get to the Alabama's, strength conditioning and sports science center really to elevate you off the field?
Oh, yeah, I can't wait. That's one of the big things that kind of push them over the edge for me is all the kind of the technology and the experience that they have. Like I think their head of athletic trainer is one of the best that's in college football right now, in my opinion. I think Miss Bragg, she's incredible. Someone who's way more intelligent than I am, without a doubt. And she'll know everything she needs to tell me for me to put on weight, to take off weight, to put on muscle, whatever she wants. And so I'm really excited to be able to, get in there, use all their cool, fancy equipment, all the toys that they have, and get to have people that are a lot smarter than me tell me what to do.
All right, so Casey Poe, you're designing your own dinner. You get, budget is endless. What are you eating? What's your top, okay, I want this for dinner, or I'm craving this. What are some of your favorites, big foods?
Man, give me steak and give me a huge ribeye, medium rare. Give me some macaroni and cheese, some mashed potatoes, and then probably an ice cold Powerade, and we are good to go. That is, if I was to have a last meal, that would be it.
Oh, that's a pretty daggum good last meal. I love it. Do you have any pregame traditions or anything pregame rituals that you kind of walk through? I had a couple simple ones in high school. What about you? Do you have anything that really gets yourself in the mindset of I'm about to go play a game?
Yeah. So always during the national anthem, we'll come out. And to me, the national anthem, I love it. I think it's a great historic song, but it's always the longest song right there before the football game because you just feel like it drags on. You just want to go play. And so about halfway through that, I'll say a little prayer, kind of talk to God, get my head right. And then my grandmother passed away 3 or 4 years ago, and I'll kind of stop and take a moment to talk to her and just kind of let her know. It sounds weird, but I'll let her know what I'm doing and what the game plan is. And then after that, I'm ready to go. My juices are flowing. I got the adrenaline in me, and I'm good to go.
That's what's up. So, Casey, I watching some of your huddle tape. You're playing a lot of tackle. Will you continue? Is that? This is a stupid question because Eric Wolford and Nick Saban will ultimately decide that. Do you care what you play? Do you care what you play when you move to the college level?
I do not. I think Coach Wolford is, like you said, the best O-line coach that you can possibly get, and I think he's going to do whatever I need to do, and he's going to put me in the best possible position to, get what's done for Alabama and get what's done for myself.
What describe your relationship with Coach Wolford? There's a generic question for you. How has he been like for you?
He's been amazing. And actually one of the best takeaways from the cookout this weekend we all had a meeting with him. It was kind of a sit down. It was all the offensive linemen together and him in a room and him just kind of explaining the importance of Alabama and all this stuff. And he got so fired up that we left the room. We all kind of looked at each other like, if we ever needed to, like, if we're ever in trouble and we need some guy to call, like, that's my guy. Like, he's going to go get whatever needs to be done for me and my health. He's going to go get it done. And I just think that's the way he is about football. He is that passionate about Alabama and everything that he does in his coaching lifestyle, his family lifestyle, everything he does, he's extremely passionate about, and I love that.
I love it too. I'm excited to see what he does in year number 2. Recently, we had Josh Pate on 24/7 Sports saying that he thinks that Alabama will lead the league in rushing this season, reverting back to a bit of a power running game. I know you're not in the building and you don't want to give away any secrets or anything like that. What do you expect about Alabama's offense in 2023? You think we're going to get back to punching people in the mouth?
I mean, I could definitely see that. Shoot, you got one of the best freshman tackles to ever grace college football coming into it. So I could easily see Coach Wolf going to some smash mouth football.
I cannot wait for it. I'm really excited about this coming season. I think that a lot of people are maybe underrating Alabama just based off the quarterback situation, which will solve itself here in a couple of weeks.
I promise you we'll be okay.
Yeah, I think so as well. Let's real quick continue. Earlier you highlighted church camp, and you mentioned prayer a couple of different times, and so I'll just give you an opportunity to discuss your faith and when did you come to faith and find Christ, and how has that influenced you over the course of your young life? Excuse me.
Yeah, I was always brought up in a Christian house style. I'm a Baptist. I go to First Baptist Church here in Lindale, kind of our local church. We have a good amount of churches. We have a Church of Christ, a Catholic church, a Baptist church, a Pentecostal church. We have every church you want. If you want to come be religious, come to Lindale, Texas. But I was always built up in a very religious lifestyle, saying my prayers every night before bed, reading my Bible, all that stuff. And it's really helped me, It's kind of saved me from some times where I could have definitely gone down a wrong path and kind of taken that wide path that people kind of talk about instead of the straight and narrow. And I'm so blessed that God's kept me under his hands and kind of kept me under his watch. And every time I started to sway, he's like, hey man, get back on this path. This is where I want you to go. This is my plan for you. And so I cannot thank my parents enough for setting me up in this lifestyle. And it's been amazing. And I hope that's one of my biggest hopes going throughout college. And as I kind of build a platform is that I can help make heaven crowded, just 1 or 2 more people.
That's awesome, man. That makes me. That probably makes me smile the biggest on this whole discussion so far. Let me bust your back just a little bit, or give you a hard time just a little bit. I have over the course of media, I've often kind of. Oh, this kid has 8 schools in his top 8. This guy has 8 schools before his decision. He's really only down to 1 or 2. Why does he do this? Why does he do that? And so now that I have an opportunity to ask you, your final 7, 8, obviously Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, LSU, Oklahoma, Clemson, and Texas Tech. You clearly have relationships with all of them, and you want to value those relationships. So educate the dummy over here. Why does a recruit say, okay, I'm down to a decision, it's coming tomorrow, and I'm considering 8 schools, 6 schools, instead of here's my last 2?
Man, it's those relationships. And, going through those official visits, those relationships just get stronger. You get to spend time with each of the coaching staff, and you get to spend time with their families, get to meet the wives, get to meet the kids, and just kind of make almost like a friendship with each of these coaches in a way. And it makes it so hard to narrow it down to like 1 or 2 schools because you really don't know. I didn't know coming into my Alabama official visit. I was like, there could be 3 or 4 or 5 of these schools that I really am looking at and really genuinely interested in. And so it makes it, I would say it's the relationships is why people keep those numbers so high. It's just because they really do enjoy that many different schools and they can't make up their decision until the last moment.
Well, you lived it. I did not. So your truth is absolutely what stands there, and I appreciate the insight there. Let's talk. You're from Texas, and we're almost wrapped up here. I appreciate it. We're talking to Casey Poe, Alabama commit 2024 offensive lineman out of Lindale, Texas. When you come to the league, when you come in as a freshman, SEC is going to be looking a lot different. You're getting Texas and Oklahoma into the league. No more divisions. What's it going to be like playing against Texas and Oklahoma? And obviously A&M's already out there, so you're getting kind of that Texas feel into the SEC.
Yeah. So That's going to be some interesting competition. Oklahoma coming in. Oklahoma is one of my top schools. I think Coach Venables and Coach B are going to do some great things over there, and Coach Levy, all those coaches. They're really, really intelligent and have a great kind of program building over there. And coming in the SEC, I'm excited to see what they can do and see kind of how their faster paced offense works in the SEC. But playing Texas, I grew up a Texas fan. I'm from Texas. Texas never offered me though. They never kind of cast it out my way. So it's gonna be exciting playing them, to say the least.
All right, I will remember that. That's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, only a couple more questions here, and I appreciate your time. Everybody gets a hey, here's what you need to do to improve this senior year from their college coaches, and from their high school coaches. So you're obviously committed. Everything's kind of working your way. What does Eric Wolford, Nick Saban, or even your own high school coaches or the coaches that are in your family said, Casey, here's what I want you to focus on in your last little bit of senior, your last little bit of high school to get you ready or to prepare you for that next level?
Yeah, the biggest thing I've heard is details. Just kind of going down and finding and ironing out the small things. Because obviously I'm bigger than a lot of people that I play, and I can get away with playing, kind of with higher pad level or anything like that, just because I am bigger. But with the competition in East Texas and the amazing players I'm going to be playing against, I really got to fine tune those details to where it's in sync. It almost looks perfect. So that way, whenever I do make that transition to where everyone's a 4-star and a 5-star, and everyone's the best at what they do, that it'll be a much easier transition than trying to be just a big bully on the playground to go into a school everybody else is your size.
That's awesome. Do you plan on we love nice hip level, low hips, we love it. Do you plan on enrolling early after your at the end of December, or will you go through it and have two semesters, or is that still up in the air?
That's still up in the air. I'm going back and forth on it. Like you said, I won shot put my sophomore year. I lost it last year, so it's kind of a pride thing right now, and whether I want to go reclaim that title or go ahead and move on. But it's also a thing there's so many memories that senior year brings. It's kind of one of those things you look up to throughout your whole kind of time in school is that senior year and having those friends. And like most of these people I never see again, which is really sad to think about. But I got to weigh that between the obvious advantage of going early and just kind of bounce back and forth in between the two.
Absolutely, and it is a cost benefit kind of analysis. I don't mean to poke behind the curtain too much, but it seems like you might have a long term relationship as well to kind of balance. And so, senior year, senior prom with her as well. Tell me about just a little real quick on what is she thinking about coming to Alabama with you, or that's up in the air for her? Or was she kind of narrowing her choices down as well?
Yeah, I think she's planning on going on a visit down there sometime in the next couple of weeks. But really, it's kind of one of those things. If she likes Alabama and they have what's great for her, then obviously she'll come. If not, then she's going to go wherever's best with her. And I think that's the best way to do it. Because if we're meant to be and this is what God has in store, then no matter if she's 2 minutes away from me, 2 hours, or a day drive away from me, we'll be able to make it work. That way, she can be happy, I can be happy, and just let it see how it's going to play out.
Casey, I'm struck by your maturity, man. When I was a rising senior, I was an absolute fool. I was selfish. I mean, obviously, I played football and I was a really, a good practice player, but foolish off the field. And so I'm just really struck by your maturity, and I really appreciate everything that you've given us so far today. Really, probably my last question is going to be, you've seen a lot of written about on, BamaCentral, on any big website about this guy's going to be this, football style. What's something that the media doesn't know about Casey Poe that you think, okay, I would like people to know this about me, or I think this is interesting that people might find interesting about me? What's something that people don't know other than they read on a depth chart or a scouting report about Casey Poe?
Yeah, I mean, I have a huge sweet tooth. That's one thing I'll put out there. But what's very important to me, if anybody wants to give me a gift or anything like that, is I don't like chocolate or sodas. Like, I'm not like a health freak or anything like that. Obviously not. I have a huge sweet tooth, but I've just never been one for chocolate. It's just not my thing. Chocolate cake or any like M&Ms, Dove chocolate, anything. Just never really been my thing.
Okay, so your sweet tooth then, are we doing vanilla, like cinnamon, like what's donuts, like what's the if we're not doing chocolate, what are we doing?
I'm a big, I like vanilla, but I'm also a big strawberry, kind of like
Yeah.
strawberry, watermelon, kind of the fruitier flavors that come into things. Like Skittles, I could eat my weight in Skittles without a problem.
I don't know if you know this about William Sanders yet, but he told me when his pregame tradition is candy, is to get some candy and get some hyped up. So maybe you guys can be splitting big bags of Skittles before your games.
Hey, I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be against it.
There you go. And then the last thing on your strawberry cake or your strawberry taste, look up Edgar's Bakery when you get here. They have an amazing strawberry cake. Oh my
Oh,
gosh, it's
absolutely.
great. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Casey, I really appreciate your time, man. We went 40 minutes. I feel like we got to know you pretty well. I'm looking forward to following you this coming year out at Lindale, and obviously follow your career once you come to the Alabama Crimson Tide. Anything that you want to promote or tell the people? Where can they follow you on social medias to kind of give you a little support and hit you with the like button? Anything that you want to tell the people? Last words. I really appreciate you joining me here on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Yeah, no problem. If you want to follow me, I have the Twitter, Casey Poe 2024. My Instagram is Poe Casey. I keep it really simple so I don't forget it, honestly. But yeah, if I have any last words, just that we have a lot of things coming to Bama, and it's going to be really exciting. And no matter what you hear on the media or the news or anything like that, we're coming and we're not going anywhere. We're not falling off or none of that bull crap people like to say.
I'm in total agreement with you, sir, and I cannot wait to follow this entire season. Casey, thank you so much for your time, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. That's Casey Poe. What a pleasure. What a pleasure for me. Maturity. What a picture of maturity. Look, Coach Saban, I think the in-person recruiting has benefited Alabama tremendously since the COVID-19 closures. You're getting lots of highly, not only high star guys, but everybody we've talked to has been highly super mature, very focused, very dialed into their futures and not into kind of the 17, 18-year-old stuff that I was into. So I really appreciate Casey joining us on the show today. And I'm really looking for, look, the 23 class, I think, was filled with tons and tons of five-star people and players. And you're seeing the same sorts of things. Look, I know Alabama lost a recruit over the weekend, Perry Thompson, and that's fine. I have no comments on who he is. We will replace Alabama's going to replace that lost commitment, and when the 2024 class is all said and done in December, early February, depends on whenever Coach Saban finishes his work. You're going to have not only a highly recruited class, but a lot of men who are dedicated to building themselves and building the Alabama brand. I think Casey Poe exemplifies that. If you missed any of that portion of our conversation, it'll be up there on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. It'll be able to be listened to on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. So I really appreciate him giving me some of his time. 40 minutes, plenty of time. He's in between two-a-days. He's probably about to go crack some skulls, and just cannot wait to see him in an Alabama uniform. You can support the Lindale program. You can support the Lindale program this year. As he said, they're one of the, maybe not one of the bigger teams in the region, but will always play very hard. Look, 8-5 last year. You can look at his huddle tape. He is a mauler. Once he gets his hands on you, you're not getting off. You're not getting off the block. And I think you'll see the same sorts of qualities in William Sanders and in Joseph Ionata. We don't give a bleep about the star ratings. Because, look, you do see the star ratings for those three guys, and you're like, oh, where's the 5-star? Who cares? Nick Saban, I think, has really identified, and I think Eric Wolford has really identified three really quality linemen and quality people for the 2024 class. All right, so let's wrap up today's program. Let's wrap up today's program with a little tidbit on today's Knicks Kids Luncheon. I got over to the Knicks Kids Giveaway Luncheon. We got to hear from Coach Saban from about 3-4 minutes. We got to hear Miss Terry for a minute and a half or so and see all the lovely people supporting the Knicks Kids Giveaway Luncheon. Look, Coach Saban, the legacy stands on the football field. It's unquestioned. You cannot question it one bit. I know people, he's falling off. Paul Feinbaum talking, his legacy's up for grabs. No, it's not. You've won 7 national championships, 6 here at Alabama. I'm of the opinion that if Nick Saban doesn't win another national title, he is A-OK and still cemented as a top 3 coach in the history of the sport. But where Coach Saban's legacy really honestly is is underrated. Is off the field. I mean, look, a lot of people think, oh, of course, Alabama, UA, and you've seen the buildings and you've seen the enrollment explode over the course of time, over the course of 15, 16 years that where he's been here in Tuscaloosa. But you've also seen the city of Tuscaloosa benefit, West Alabama benefit. Now, look, not everybody here in Tuscaloosa gets to go or does go to the University of Alabama, so not everything that Coach Saban does directly benefits the citizens of Tuscaloosa. But just look at the Knicks Kids Luncheon, who's who, what's going on. Coach Saban and his wife, the Miss Terry, who he did refer to as the real head coach of the University of Alabama in his speech, they were giving away $600,000 today to different 501c3 nonprofit organizations that are helping the Knicks Kids projects that have, helped out throughout the years or have applied for little assistance or have applied for money. They're giving away $600,000. $600,000, and all in total, since Coach Saban has been here in Tuscaloosa, the Sabans have given away nearly $12 million. $12 million. Now, look, yes, you say, look, he makes 9 in a year. He makes 10 in a year. Okay, great. But he's turning around, giving away money. He's turning around, impacting the community. Think about it. He's put up, 20 homes? 20 homes from Habitat for Humanity over the course of his time, 20 homes, and he's donated, basically bought and donated land for the para of Tuscaloosa County all-inclusive playground. You can go play on that playground right now. It accommodates all children, including those with special needs. I know my mother, special needs teacher for a long, long time, might appreciate that. The Sabans. You can talk about whether Coach is a bad guy or a good guy in dealing with the media, and I don't really care. I think that I think the coach just treats the media in a certain way, and that's okay. We're used to that. I don't think that's who he is. I think that's just kind of how he has to keep his messaging controlled. But Coach, I think at his core, is a people person. I think he cares about people in general and wants to impact not only his players, but everything that he can. And I think Miss Terry has really helped him over the course of 15, 20, 25 years. He talked about going all the way back to Michigan State with the Knicks Kids Project. I think Miss Terry has helped him realize that his impact and his reach can go beyond just the football field, beyond just the 85 scholarship players, beyond just the people in his building, whether it be at Michigan State, LSU, Miami, or here at Alabama. I think Miss Terry has really stretched and grown Coach Saban. And so, look, you see the Knicks Kids pledged $2 million for the Saban Center. It's going to be the Children's Hands-On Museum of Tuscaloosa. They're all going to kind of combine down there at the riverfront. Look, it's still in the works, but when it all gets opened up, it's going to be wonderful for West Alabama. Not only just as a place for kids to kind of go and explore and learn and grow, but I think it's going to really be a part of a project that helps put people into jobs and put children and into adulthood and adulthood into jobs. So look, Coach, we love the wins on the field. We love wins. The losses suck. The losses hurt. The losses are no fun, but Coach's impact is far, far beyond wins and losses. Yes, we all love to win, and it's been a great 17-year run. Absolutely, and I believe Alabama's going to be back on top at the end of the year. I do. Maybe that's just naivete, or maybe it's just a little bias, or maybe I'm just too close to the program to see anything else. But I do think that Alabama is going to be back on top at the end of the year. But regardless, if Alabama makes the playoffs or doesn't make the playoffs, if Alabama wins the SEC or doesn't win the SEC, it doesn't matter. Regardless, Coach Saban's impact on and off the field has been, tenfold, has been immeasurable. I often say, Coach Saban is underpaid. Now, he's not going to make, too much more money from the university. Of course, they're going to keep upping his salary every single time that is due. But he's underpaid, in my opinion, for what he has done at the university, what he's done just economically for the city, and then charity-wise, his charitable donations and the endeavors that he is involved in with the Knicks Kids Passion Project. I think it's absolutely it's immeasurable how much he has impacted the city of Tuscaloosa, the region of West Alabama, and really the state as a whole. So we're going to wrap up our program right now. We really appreciate Casey Poe joining us. Casey Poe, class of 2024 lineman out of Lindale, Texas, joined us for about 40 minutes. If you missed any of that, you can listen to it on Amazon, on Spotify, or on Apple Podcast. You can watch it on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. Follow me at Joe Gaither 6. Send me your comments, your questions, your queries, and complaints. We love any and all comments, questions, queries, and complaints. Follow this program. Tell a friend about the show. Tell a friend about the Casey Poe interview if you think that somebody might like it. Listen to our other BamaCentral Broadcasting Network podcast. We have All Things Bama with Katie Wyndham and Austin Hannon, and we have Blue Collar Unplugged with Blake Byler, Matthew Gibson, and Jacob Pickle. Of course, our man Chris Walsh puts us on each and every day. Follow Writing Walsh on the Twitter machine for all of his great coverage. Follow at BamaCentral. Follow me at Joe Gaither 6. I'm going to be back tomorrow. I'm going to go same bat time, same bat channel. I am going to be at 1 o'clock tomorrow live, but we will be running an interview with one Cannon Claycomb. Cannon Claycomb's going to join me tomorrow morning. We're going to talk about Alabama golf. We're going to talk a lot of golf subject, and we'll ask him about football. We'll try to get to know Cannon as a person as well. The Kentucky native is going to join me tomorrow. We'll talk about his number 14 overall preseason ranking. We hope to see him into the top 10 very, very soon as the season gets rolling. We're going to talk to him about Coach Sewell. We're going to talk to him about the milkshake tradition. You had 2 Alabama golfers win over the weekend. We'll ask him if there's any fix for Justin Thomas. I'm sure everyone's trying to chime in and get Justin Thomas right before this coming up weekend. So we'll have a heavy golf episode tomorrow. And then really from there, it's going to be all football. Nick Saban talks at 4:30 tomorrow, 4:30 on Thursday. He'll be up in front of the podium giving his first post-practice report. And we're going to find out who the quarterback is. No, we're not. Someone will inevitably ask, and they'll end up with egg on their face. And Coach will say, the cake is still baking, I'm sure. So tune in tomorrow. We'll figure out what we want to do. We'll have a big golf episode with Cannon Claycomb right here on BamaCentral.com. And then we will turn it all over into football mode. So for you, the listener, thank you so much for joining us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Thanks for joining us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon. And for me, I'm Joe Gaither. This has been another edition of the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.